Happy Thanksgiving. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Even though it's been 2 weeks, we still find myself and Kevin battling it out for first. We still find Flynn in sole possession of last place. I do want to send an apology to Flynn, as it seems I only do these videos when he's in last. I think it's more of a correlation, not causation, kind of thing. But I promise you, it's not personal. You just happen to find yourself in last a lot. How did we get here? Well, let's go through the last week and, recap it and then look forward to next week. Last week, we saw Parker put up the second most points in the league, but it wasn't strong enough for Kelsey and my Mahomies, as they put up 60 points in a Sunday night burn down. Moving ahead to, the Quack and Gary friendship rivalry, we had Quack got cooked by Gary despite Washington scoring an outrageous 46 points because his wide receiver went for the toonie of 0 points. Don't worry, Quack. We had Mac, who was screaming, gimme, gimme more, out of Randall Moore, as he scored negative points on the day. But Jimmy G and Deebo Samuel were able to mix in things up on Billy, as Mac coasted to a near 40-point victory. Meanwhile, we had Prego and Duffy, who played McKitty, who also scored 0 points. But G saw that 0 and raised him a Hines -8 and a Herbert 0, while New England piled on 40-plus points for a Matthew Berry W. G has really fallen off a cliff, as she was once in contention for first, but has lost the last 5 straight. Figure your shit out, G. Despite all this, Tyler was the big loser for playing with his cousins in primetime, as the world watched in disgust of his negative 4.8 points. Todd was finally able to dispel the myth against Tyler that Aaron Rodgers' locker room cancer, as he coasted to the biggest blowout win of the week. Tyler, you also joining a very elusive club of those who cannot score more than 100 points in this league in a given week. Don't know what to say. But last but not least, we had Flynn, who was screaming Graham Gnuts as his kicker scored 0 points, while Kevin's kicker scored 18. Fun fact, if they would have switched kickers for the day, Flynn would have won, he would not be in last place, and Kevin would be knocked down officially to second rather than kind of tied for first with what he's doing now. Looking ahead to next week, we got some, the sink or swim matchups, as I'd like to call them. This is really going to define who's the top of the league, who's in the middle, and who's going to make some lemonade. As we have the primetime matchup of the week against me and Billy. This is also a revenge game, as Billy is, I believe, responsible for one of my 2 losses on the year. Moving on down, we have Gary versus Matthew Berry's minions, Prego and Duffy, as, those two have had a mixed bag this fantasy season. Can't really seem to figure out whether they want to be the top of the league or the bottom, and Gary is the biggest boomer bust fantasy football player there is. He will either score 200 or he will score 110. So we should have an interesting matchup between the 5 and 7. One will be in prime position for the playoffs, and one will be on the outside looking in. Speaking of the outside looking in, we have G going against Todd in battle to see who is in lemon contention or who, quite frankly, should be safe but not in the playoffs, as it's the 9 versus 10 matchup. Looking on down, we have Quack going against Tyler. Tyler, I'm going to be honest with you. So far, based off points scored, you have the worst team in the entire league. I don't know how you're 5 and 6. You better pray to whoever, I don't know. But regardless, it's a miracle you're at 5 and 6. And then Clock, 7 and 4, you're failing upwards. That team name worked for you for a while, but you got blown out last week. Maybe time for a switch, maybe something Thanksgiving themed, I don't know. But you're projected to beat Tyler by 30 points. Speaking of the top half of the league, we have Kevin going against Parker in the 2 versus 6 matchup. Right now, Parker, you have the last playoff position, at 6. However, Kevin, you're still gunning for first place against myself, so obviously you need the victory as well. And last but not least, we have the best matchup of the week. We have the lemon matchup, as Mac and Flynn are going head-to-head. And if I did my math correctly, I'm fairly certain if Flynn wins, he moves up to 11 and Mac moves down to 12. And if Mac wins, that pretty much puts Flynn If Mac and Todd both win, that puts Flynn 2 games behind with only a few games to go. So very, very important matchup to look out for this week. We have 3 games today. We have the Lions going against the Bills. We have the Vikings going against the Patriots. And we also have the Cowboys going against the Giants. Sports betting is now legal in Maryland, so I will be preoccupied doing that today, and I hope the rest of you guys are eating some turkey. Happy Thanksgiving.